Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to another season of Highlands football. This is Mike Pavlik, and it's nearly time for Highlands football. The Rams will be setting their sights on a possible conference championship, getting back to the playoffs, winning a playoff game, as they will open their season in just 10 days hence against the Ambridge Bridgers. So we would like to get you updated and give you a little preview of the season, kind of review what happened last year, and move on with that, and then give you the schedule of the upcoming year for Highlands football. Of course, last year was Matt Bonaslawski's first year, and he became the first coach in Highlands history to make the playoffs in his opening season, and that's been a storied history of Highlands football and Highlands football coaches, but Bones was able to pull that off. Rams won their first 8 games and then ran into that roadblock against Armstrong, the big home game at Golden Ram Stadium, where Caden Olson just tore them apart, as he had done to many other teams, the all-time leading passer in Armstrong County history. And the Rams fell that night. Armstrong won the conference, but the Rams were able to come back the next week at Hampton, win that game on a flea flicker late to secure a playoff spot, and, of course, the home game. And then the Rams were able to play Latrobe in their first playoff game at Golden Ram Stadium. That the Wildcats were able to win it late when they tied the game late in the third quarter and won it in overtime, beating the Rams. A game where the Rams defense kind of wore down as that game went on, and it was kind of a battle of attrition with Luke Bumbalski, who had been hurt late in the season and was unable to come back. Missed him on the defensive side of the ball. And then that game they missed Daniel Long also, who was a big boost to them coming over from North Catholic, playing on the defensive line. But since he transferred over via the new WPIAL and PIAA rule that you can't play a playoff if you have transferred after your 10th grade year, there are appeals that are able to be had, and Latrobe had a running back that was able to get one of those and able to play that night. But Daniel Long was unable to go, and the Rams kind of wore down late in that game, and they held up as best they could, but Latrobe came out of there with a well-earned win. So that was it. The Rams did make the playoffs, as we mentioned, but they're going to be missing some people going into this year. Hits on graduation, a lot along the offensive line, the Leslie twins, Landon Signorella, Tyler Bender, and, of course, Chandler Timmons, the quarterback that not only the all-time leading passer in Highlands history, but the all-time leading passer in AK Valley history, throwing for over 5,000 yards, a 4-year starter. So he'll have to be replaced, and that won't be an easy job. Also, Nick McQuaid, who played hurt most of the season when Bumbalski went out and did a great job on the defensive side of the ball, helping out there. So the Rams will have to do a lot of replacement. High school football, it's the way it goes. Guys graduate, new guys come in, opportunities are open. Aaron Randolph looks like he's going to take one of those at the quarterback spot because he got to play a lot of Wild Ram last year, and what a tremendous job he did. And he will slide over to be quarterback this year. Luke Bumbalski back healthy. They'll have him back. And as we get into the first game of the year when we go to Ambridge, we will fill you in on a lot of the other guys that are going to move in and take some spots, and we should be up and ready to go then. So the Rams, as I did mention, will open their season in Beaver County. They'll play 2 in a row there. Their Week 0 game this year will be different. Last year and the year before, they played University Prep at home. This year, they're going to travel to Mo Rubenstein Stadium in Ambridge to face the Ambridge Bridgers under third-year coach now, Sherm McBride. Sherm was a longtime assistant to Mike Smianik at Aliquippa, and he will move into his third season there. Made the playoffs his first year, didn't make it last year. They were 2-8 in the Tough Parkway. The Rams have played Ambridge recently when they were together in the Northwest 9. Highlands won those 4 games by an average score of 43-9. So they've had their way with the Bridgers, but I think it's going to be a little bit tougher this year when we get out there to Ambridge to open it up Friday night, August 25th at Ambridge Week 0. Week 1 at Blackhawk against the Cougars. Went 4-7 a year ago, and do you have time for a story? Well, the Cougars entering their season under new coach Pat Feely. How does that happen? Well, let's take you to Hampton, where longtime Hampton AD, Bill Cardone, has retired. A great friend of the program. He's helped us out so many times over the years, especially the COVID year in basketball, found a way to shoehorn us into the gym. We do appreciate everything he's done for us there in Hampton. Bill, after a long, successful career there, has retired. Became an opening. Okay? So we'll take you out to Char Valley, where their athletic director, Mike Gavlik with a G, not to be confused with Mike Pavlik with a P, applied for the job among a lot of people, because that's a pretty, prestigious job in Hampton, made so really by Bill. Mike Pavlik hired at Hampton, leaving an opening at Char Valley. Okay, how does this get the Blackhawk? Hang in there. Zach Hayward, the athletic director and football coach at Blackhawk, applies for the job at Char Valley as athletic director only, not football coach. He gets the job last week, midweek through Heat Week, leaving Blackhawk without a coach. Enter Pat Feely. He's been an assistant there since 1999, and under Joe Hamilton and also under Zach Hayward. So he's waited his turn, and he's ready to be the new head coach at Blackhawk on very short notice, and you just wonder how the upheaval, there is some upheaval. Now, the staff's going to stay the same, and Pat's just going to move up, but it's going to be interesting to see how that all works out for Blackhawk. 4-7 a year ago, did make the playoffs, but now they're going to be having a little bit of change and a distraction that they didn't really need this late in the summer. So Zach Hayward's new team, Char Valley, will come into Highlands for the home opener on Friday, September 8th. Again, Zach, only the athletic director there. Aaron Fitzpatrick in his second season as the head coach at Char Valley. They went 2-8 a year ago in the Parkway, missed the playoffs. The Rams beat them out there 28-20. If you remember the two long touchdown passes that they scored on swing passes, made that game close. 94 yards and 95 yards. Made the Rams had to defend one last gasp drive by Char Valley at the end of the game. The Rams were able to do that and pulled off the victory 28-20 out there. Aaron Fitzpatrick, graduate of Erie McDowell in Erie, the same high school that our former basketball coach Tyler Stachinsky attended, and they may have been there around the same time. Week 3, September 15th at North Catholic. First Greater Allegheny Conference game. New coach for North Catholic this year is Chris Rizzo. He came from Arizona. He was the head coach at Glendale High School. He's a Bethel Park grad, though, familiar with the area. Had the chance to come back home and jumped at it to take the job at North Catholic. They went 5-5 a year ago under longtime coach Pat O'Shea. He retired after the season. They did not make the playoffs their first year in the Greater Allegheny. Something they're not exactly used to at North Catholic. So that was the change there. Pat O'Shea out. September 22nd, Indiana comes into Highlands Golden Ram Stadium, and that will be homecoming. Indiana has missed the playoffs 7 of the last 8 years, 3-7 a year ago. Brad Wright, the second-year coach. They haven't had a winning season since 2014, trying to get back to their glory days when Mark Zielinskis was there and did such a great job with them. The Rams avenged a really tough defeat a couple of years ago by going out to Indiana last year and winning that game 31-0. Luke Bombalski, 129 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Aaron Randolph had a pick 6. Keep that name in mind. He's coming up here as we sort of review what happened. But that was a win for Highlands. Out at Indiana last year. September 22nd this year, Friday night, homecoming at Golden Ram Stadium. Week 5, September 29 at Mars against the Planets. Eric Kasparovich in his second season. Back to the playoffs after a long run of playoffs under Scott Heinauer that was missed his final year. 6-5 a year ago. They finished in 3rd place in the Greater Allegheny, losing to McKeesport 43-0 in the first playoff game that they had back. Eric Kasparovich won 4 WPIAL titles at Pine Richland, and he's looking to duplicate that success at Mars. He says they're stronger this year. Highlands beat them last year 54-22. We affectionately call it the Aaron Randolph game when he scored 6 touchdowns in a 16-minute span in the first and second quarter. It's just an amazing performance. If you get a second and you want to get fired up for the season, go back and watch that game. At least watch those parts of it. It is tremendous in the excitement that we had at Golden Ram Stadium that night, late September last year. Then a non-conference game gets shoehorned in. If you remember, this is the game where Luke Bombalski was injured last year at Woodland Hills. We will play the Wolverines at Highlands this year. First responders night. Brian Tarrant will enter his first season taking over for Tim Bostard, who made the playoffs again last year. They won a game at against Franklin Regional and then lost to Pine Richland. But Tim Bostard out, Brian Tarrant in, the new coach at Woody High. The Rams went out there last year and won at the Wolverine 38-23. They led 31-7 midway through the third quarter, and then Woodland Hills was able to put some points up later on in that game after Luke had gone out too. But the Rams were able to hold on. They won that game. A lot of young talent on that Woodland Hills team last year, and they are ready to take off, we think, this season in 5A in the Northeast with Brian Tarrant as the new coach. Week 7, October 13th, the Kiski Cavaliers. It'll be Military Appreciation Night at Golden Ram Stadium, and the return of Sam Albert. Sam will be in his 30th season as a head coach in the WPIAL, his 7th already, can you believe that, at Kiski. Rams won out there last year 56-7. 465 yards total offense for Highlands. Chandler Timmons ran for 100, Aaron Randolph ran for 100, and the Rams were able to beat the Cavaliers in that game. Then October 20th, Sue Armstrong, Frank Fabian's 12th year there, has made himself an institution there, both at Katanning and now at Armstrong. 10-2 last season, won the conference championship, beat Blackhawk in the first round of the playoffs, and then lost to McKeesport. That's what knocked them out. And again, we mentioned they beat the Rams 56-35. Caden Olson, 453 yards passing that night, and 573 total offense for Armstrong that game, which was a tough pill to swallow for Highlands. But they were able to go on and win the next week, and that's our next opponent, Hampton. Senior night, October 27th at Golden Ram Stadium. Steve Shulo in his second season at Hampton, and their new AD, Mike Gavlik with a G. 3 straight playoffs made by the Talbots. They lost to Montour in a tough one last year at Montour, 34-33. The Rams beat them 19-7 last year. Flea flicker at the end of that game to pull it off. Randolph to Rondale Hewlett, and the Rams held on and won that one at Hampton to win that game. Of course, we always mention that. The last 17 seasons the two teams have played, which takes you back this entire century, the winner of that game has made the playoffs. Crazy stat, always holds true. The loser sometimes makes it, but the winner always makes it. So that's always a game to watch. The final game of the year, senior night, October 27th, against the Hampton Talbots. Second, to thank everybody that helps us out getting these games on the air, especially the Gridiron Club, Tony Litwicki and his group. Thanks to them for helping us every year. Everyone at the administration at Highlands, all the way down, school board, new athletic director to be Katie Joe Stobert, welcome aboard. Thanks to previous AD, Drew Carpin and all his help. He's moved on to Plum. We do appreciate everything he did to help us out over the years as well. All of you folks for watching, and especially our sponsors. Let's take a second to run through them right now. B&J Sports, Glenn Mills, his friendly staff. Boucher Insurance, thanks to John and Nick. Always a pleasure having them aboard with us. Gillette Towing, John Gillette, got his 3 boys through the program and helped us with many successful seasons, and now he continues to support. Thanks to John for all your help. Greatness Fitness, run by a former Ram, Gary Negley, who still holds the record for most yards rushing in a game. Did it at Freeport one night. Harvest Moon Coffee and Chocolate, thanks to Desiree Singleton and all her help there. We appreciate you coming aboard, and always packed when I go in there, I'll tell you that. Highland Tire, the Bonnettes, legacy sponsors, we like to call them. They've been with us since the beginning. Thanks to them for all their help. Lucchino Financial, Joe and Joe always know, and they especially know it's good to support Highland sports, and they continue to do that. I always said, if I would have hit the Powerball or the Mega Millions, my first call was going to be to Joe Lucchino, and I mean that. Beanie Home Renovations, the B is always busy. You see the trucks everywhere, and Brian Nee, thanks to him for all his help. Philippines Family Dining, no better time than going to the Highlands game and going to Philippines after. The deck is open out front. Always a perfect setting to come and discuss the game and have some good food and some drinks. Philippines, thank you to them for all your help also. Wireless Zone, Mason Elite Hoops, thanks to the Masons, John and Micah, great supporters of Highland Sports, and of course Micah, a great supporter on the court of Highland Sports during his years playing. All-time leading three-point shooter in WPIL history. That record is still standing. Phoenix Rehab, Zach Bartolotta, thanks to him. Appreciate their help. Right across from Spartan Dome, easy to find. Dan Timmons Painting, thanks to his continued support over the years. And Unflooded, Brian Mara and his crew, thanks to them for all their help. Once again, where can you find us? You can find us on YouTube, Highlands High Sports. Games will be on the very next day, and Comcast Cable Channel 190, and those will be there for you Tuesday night, 8 o'clock, Comcast Channel 190. And we thanks to Comcast as we keep this partnership of local high school football and Comcast cable that goes all the way back to the 1960s. Thank you for them. Mike Choma, of course, I thank him for being my partner over these 23 years, and we will continue to be with you here throughout this season moving forward. Again, that opening game, August 25th at Ambridge. Be there, aloha, the next morning on YouTube, and that Tuesday night on Comcast. So that wraps it all up. Thanks for joining me here, getting the news out to you. The Rams will be having a scrimmage this Saturday morning at 10 o'clock against Shaler, if you want to get out there and see that. Kind of get a preview of the coming attractions for this season, see how some of the holes are filled. We'll be out there. Stop by and say hi. So that'll wrap it up. Mike Pavlik, thanks for watching. So long, everybody.